Hello everyone and welcome back to the Fluctus channel. On May 12, 2015, an F-18 Super Hornet from Strike Fighter Squadron 211 crashed into the Arabian Sea. It had just taken off from the USS Theodore Roosevelt when it suffered a severe engine malfunction. Fortunately, both pilots were able to eject safely. However, the aircraft itself quickly sank into the water. The U.S. Navy would never leave such a piece of valuable equipment stranded in an area so close to potentially hostile powers. After all, the Hornet was not only armed with weapons of all kinds, but also loaded with technology and information the Navy had a serious interest in keeping secret. So on July 22nd of the same year, the USNC Catawba sent a crew of divers and salvage specialists to reclaim the aircraft from the ocean floor.
So right now we're undertaking a salvage of a F-18 airplane that crashed around 2 months ago. So far, this is a third leg of the mission. On the first two missions, we actually recovered the cockpit of the airplane and all the classified information. So now we're getting the main fuselage, which is still on the bottom of the ocean.
Though it was damaged beyond all hope, the team was able to secure all sensitive equipment and materials from the wreckage. Though rare, these types of salvage missions are incredibly important to the U.S. Navy, as well as other branches of the military. What's even more important, however, is any instance in which a pilot or member of the crew is at risk of being lost at sea. Search and rescue is an essential part of any vessel's operation. It is primarily divided into two types: ship-based SAR and airborne SAR. The latter often employs helicopters, which allows them to cover much more area while moving slow enough to easily see service members who might be swimming in the ocean or clinging to wreckage. Much like the U.S. Coast Guard, once a pilot or crew member is located, the helicopter will deploy rescue divers and other personnel to retrieve them and provide any necessary assistance or medical aid. SAR training is absolutely imperative to ensuring these operations go smoothly. With crews undergoing regular drills and training exercises, both at sea and at home. The nature of operating fighter jets from an aircraft carrier has always proven to be a logistical challenge. Back in World War II, it was not uncommon for planes to lose control or be knocked off course by the wind when coming in for a landing. Back then, aircraft carriers' takeoff and landing zones were smaller than they are now. As with today, naval aircraft carriers were outfitted with catapult launching mechanisms that would slingshot planes into the air. When landing, planes had to use a special arresting hook to catch arresting wires located at the back of the flight deck, allowing them to come to a safe and rapid stop. Even with this equipment in place, these sorts of landings require pilots to be very fast on their feet. For instance, in 2016, a Navy E-2C pilot had an arresting cable snap while he came in for a landing. Thanks to his quick thinking, he was able to keep the plane aloft after nearly crashing into the ocean. Both the pilot and his co-pilot were awarded the Armed Forces Air Medal for their efforts. Situations like these only further highlight the importance of crash training. In the event an aircraft were to suffer a terrible accident aboard an aircraft carrier, it would put thousands of lives and billions of dollars worth of equipment at risk. Emergency crash training like this, which took place aboard the USS Carl Vinson, is an all-hands-on-deck procedure.
But at the end of the day, if an emergency situation happens, crash and salvage is like the Avengers. Subject matter experts who know how to extinguish the fire if it catches on fire, how to respond to it, how to rescue the pilot if they're stuck in the canopy, jettison the seat, or things like that. So overall, for the most part, they are the guys that keep the flight deck safe.
Though there are specific crews assigned to deal with various aspects of the situation, all members are expected to be able to assist in order to make sure fires are put out as quickly as possible. Even a small fuel leak is cause for concern when you have so much flammable material and munitions stored close by. In almost every case where a pilot survives a crash, they did so because they were able to eject before impact. Prior to the invention of the ejector seat, the only way to egress a plane was to open the canopy and climb out. Understandably, this was an extremely dangerous operation. So in the 1920s and 30s, numerous engineers set to the task of creating a system in which the pilot could be ejected to a safe distance, minimizing the chances they could collide with the plane or any surrounding debris. Eventually, it became standard to include a rocket-propelled seat inside fighter planes. Upon activation, the system would remove or blow apart the canopy using explosives. Rockets connected to the seat then propel the pilot upward, deploying a parachute simultaneously. In case the pilot is unresponsive or unconscious. Egress systems like this are quite complex, and the military has special crew members who are in charge of keeping them in the best working condition.
Well, this mask is the chemical, biological, and radiation mask used by the aircrew that fly the AV-8 Harriers. Let's say they're flying a mission, they get shot down, and about a certain percentage of the time the aircrew pass out when they eject all the force. They come down, and this is already dawned on them. They don't have to worry about getting their mask out, they don't have to worry about anything else, just get their survival gear and get ready to go.
This takes place in the Aircrew Egress Systems shop, where seats are removed, taken apart, and carefully inspected to ensure each part of the system is in top quality condition. These men and women are also required to sign off on every ejector seat repair before a plane is allowed to re-enter service. Of course, before they are installed into an aircraft at all, ejector seats undergo extensive preliminary testing. Since the 50s and 60s, this testing took place on a railroad track using a specially designed device known as a rocket sled. These sleds propel both dummies and test pilots at incredible speeds, simulating the real effects of a mid-air ejection. Without having to sacrifice an actual aircraft. Over the years, these ejector seats have become so refined that pilots can eject while still on the ground and only risk minor injuries. Here you can see a new addition to the Air Force pilot training regimen, the Lateral Drift Trainer. The goal is to provide undergraduate pilots with a more realistic post-ejection experience, thus better preparing them for the real thing. The Aerospace Physiology program frequently uses low-tech training methods to ensure pilots can stand up to the physical rigors of flight, ejection, and combat. The new Lateral Drift Trainer perfectly simulates the things they'll need to do once they are clear of the aircraft. This includes a descent checklist, practicing various ways of landing on the ground to minimize injury, and even drag simulations. Lastly, there's a zipline-like device that allows pilots to practice forward motion landing techniques. The hope is that repeated practice will help the pilots develop the muscle memory necessary to perform if and when the situation arises. Unfortunately, as we've already seen, not all evacuations take place over land. For this reason, fighter pilots must partake in extensive water survival training. Here, pilots from the 142nd Fighter Wing are practicing various techniques on the Columbia River. Among other things, the training includes the pilots being dragged by jet skis, while wearing a full flight suit and parachute gear. They're also tasked with swimming up to 100 feet while fully suited and escaping from under a parachute in open water. None of these things are easy, but that's ultimately the point. It's much better to learn how to do it now than have to figure out how to save their or their crew's lives in a real emergency. From the Army to the Navy to the Marines, the U.S. military takes evacuation training very seriously, and the results speak for themselves. That's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of our new content. See you next time.